And now, insurance-minded speeches from Geico.
It's a common expression, don't look a gift horse in the mouth. However, what if the horse's mouth is filled with useful insurance tools? This is the exact case with the Geico app. Yes, the app is free and therefore a gift horse. However, look inside the app and behold, emergency roadside assistance, digital ID cards, bill pay. Get the Geico app. Look it in the mouth. Get amazing services. Thank you.
We are the New York Knicks. I'm back. Back in the New York groove. Well, it's the Knicks. New York. We are the New York Knicks. New York girl. For this new season we're about to enter, the Knicks is taking no shorts just like winter. New York, New York.
New York be about the Knicks, huh?
But the best thing about New York City is K-N-I-C-K-S.
Everybody say go New York, go New York, go!
Hey everybody, it's the New York Knicks podcast, episode 359, part of the Almighty Ballers podcast network.
The what?
That's new.
That is new. Explain, Jay.
So the Almighty Ballers is a NBA podcast network. They have one podcast for every team, or they will shortly, and we are the Knicks representative for them. You may
Go us.
Yep, exactly. You may recognize Chris Axmann is the one who is running this whole thing. He was part of our Dungeons and Dragons episode. So check out the Almighty Ballers podcast, and I guess yay us for being the Knicks representative.
And Chris may be calling in at some point on the episode.
Yeah.
And talking Knicks with us. But anyway, anything else we have to say about that? Oh, and we will be adding some commercials. You may have heard a commercial at the start of the episode, at the end of the episode. You may have some commercials. It helps pay for the cost of the show, so deal with it.
Podcasting's expensive. We're trying to keep it at a minimum, but yeah, we're going to have to pepper those in here and there. So unless you want to, start paying us, then you won't have to listen to that.
If you're a billionaire out there and can't get enough Knicks talk or Brink talk, hire us, please. Jay, I played the lottery Saturday night. I haven't looked at the numbers yet. I may be able to pay us. So
okay, well, that sounds good. So this is another week where the Knicks.
Wait. I before you even say that. So there's been an April Fool's joke been played.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you know about it. I don't think it's been this. It's been like out of who's the dude that used to do those crazy
Ashton Kutcher.
Yeah, he's punked us. He's come out and admitted it. Joakim Noah, they signed him to a 1-year, $5 million contract.
Oh, good.
So don't worry about it. It's not a 4-year, $72 million contract.
Oof, thank
that
goodness.
Would be absurd.
Yeah, that would have been ridiculous.
We don't have him for 4 years. He admits he was injured. It was no big deal. He'll play a little bit. $5 million. He's off the books next year, or we can re-sign him if we want for $72 million. But you have to be insane to do that, coming off 2 for the worst seasons of his career. And so far, it's not looking that great this year. So good thing we didn't sign him to $72 million because that would have been awful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about Cock and what else is going on this week. Let's just go a quick rundown of the games. They played the Thunder, 2 against the T-Wolves, and they're playing the Kings currently. I have to say just a couple comments about each game. The Thunder game, Knicks played really well in the first half, like really well. Matched the Thunder point for point. Looked like they actually have a shot at winning the game. Russell Westbrook had a triple-double within the first 12 seconds of the game. And Knicks kind of fell apart near the end. But yeah, they had a pretty good effort. What did you think of that game?
Not bad. I mean, it was pretty close. It was a good team. So the Knicks are at least hanging with good teams. I would have liked to see somebody stop Cantor at some point during the game. That was getting a little obnoxious.
Outside of Westbrook killing us, Cantor and
I mean, you're okay if Westbrook kills you, but Cantor shouldn't be killing you.
He actually didn't shoot he shot 9 for 23 in the game. So you were like, well, I mean, he also had 17 rebounds and 14 assists. He had a great game.
Yeah, but we knew he was going to get a triple-double.
You knew he was going to get a triple-double. He turned the ball over a bunch of times. He wasn't the most efficient game. That's decent for playing him. 17 rebounds seems a little bit absurd, but it's the Cantor. Cantor destroyed us. Adams played really well against us. I can't believe how good Cantor played against us.
Well, isn't that Noah's sole purpose of being on this team?
Yeah, Noah did play this game, played 26 minutes, stopped no one. He actually was a +4 in the game. He was the best plus minus in the whole team. It makes you wonder why he only played 26. This is the game he also hurt his ankle.
Well, he played 26 minutes because he had 5 fouls.
He had 5. I'm starting to think like a coach out there is going to do this. Everyone, you foul the guy, you take him out. Some coach is just going to say, hey, you get fouls, you keep playing, you leave the game when you foul out. They'll stop taking guys out because of the fouls. I don't think there's I'm sure if someone could do a study on this, I don't think it benefits your team.
Yeah, I don't get the point of leaving guys out. Chris.
Hey, Chris.
Jumping in on this convo, you're going to have to go get the Mai Tai. Hey, what's going on, guys?
What's going on, dude?
Thanks for joining us. So this is Chris Axmann, who is the leader of the Almighty Ballers podcast network. Thank you.
Yes,
for joining us, Chris.
faithful leader. How are you doing?
I'm doing excellent.
Good.
Right now, I'm screwing up. I'm trying to figure out how to do this whole Ustream thing, but yeah, we're delighted to have you on the network.
We're delighted to join you.
Exactly.
Let's jump in to Joakim Noah blows. What's up with that, guys?
We were talking about that. Yeah, we've started recording already. So, Noah, I was telling Jay, it's a giant punked episode of Ashton Kutcher's Punked. He's just been messing with us. Joakim Noah really it's a 1 year, $5 million deal, so you can't be upset.
Do you think it's like debauchery? I think it might be. I think he's just getting you know that guy in the Goofy movie who eats all the cheese whiz into his mouth? You know who I'm talking about right now?
Is that Montgomery Jack?
Something like that. But that's what I think Joakim Noah is doing right now. And like, is it a hot take to say that this win streak is 90% because he's out?
That might be. There might be something to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing is, he actually if you look at his, he actually been playing okay when he gets on the court. Not great, but how do you sign this guy for $72 million? It just blows my mind. If we signed Kyle O'Quinn to $72 million, that would have been absurd also, but actually you'd be like, oh, maybe he might play up to that.
Do you know how many games the Knicks have lost without Noah?
How many?
0. They're 4-0 without Noah.
Yeah, if you expand that over the entire season, the Knicks are pretty good.
I did an episode trying to find out who the Warriors should get at center because Zaza also sucks. And the sneaky picks I picked were Salah Mejri on the Mavs and Kyle O'Quinn because he's just another one of those guys on the Magic who they just drafted and then decided to not play and like not discover his talent and just let him blow. So just like give him some time. He's basically a rookie, right?
The thing with Kyle O'Quinn, to be fair, he has a very low basketball IQ. He always does things that drive you insane. Every time you put in he had an amazing game against the Timberwolves the other night, and I'm feeling the cock fever. But generally, like every time we've played him up to this point, he always commits some dumb foul, makes some pass that you're like just a stupid pass that immediately leads to a turnover, or he thinks he can shoot 3-pointers and drives you insane, but he'll also get a couple blocks and do some good stuff. But it's like he kind of negates himself. But maybe he's going to turn a corner. I don't know. Maybe starting him with this unit. I mean, ever since he's been starting, he's been better than Noah. But
well, that's sort of what I'm saying, though, right? Like he is basically a rookie. He's making rookie mistakes because the Magic are terrible and dumb, and they didn't play him, and they just sort of let him rot on the bench. You know what I mean? Like he does make dumb mistakes, but he's in basketball development terms, like the Magic is like pre-K. You know what I mean?
So
he's been held back year after year for no reason. That's what I think.
I'm getting mad at a toddler.
Right.
I'm like, God damn it, toddler! Why can't you earn a living?
Or like a puppy, you know, it's like pooping all over your carpet, but it doesn't really know better.
I have to say, he played so well against the Timberwolves. I was just shocked how well he was playing.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, I think he's good. I was going to. The reason I picked him to go to the Warriors and replace Zaza is because he's just the type of guy who sneaks in, and it's like, oh yeah, dude, why wasn't he utilized right? It's like, well, because the Magic are dumb and the Knicks sometimes fail to make the right decision on certain things. I don't know.
He's got talent. He's got a lot of talent. If people,
He's got a great beard too.
Got a great beard, and
Yeah.
the Knicks organization loves beards. If he started the season, if the Knicks started like the offseason ends, and the Knicks are like, our starting center is Kyle O'Quinn, Hernan Gilman's our backup, and so is Plumlee, people would have said the Knicks organization is goddamn insane.
Yeah.
And Kyle O'Quinn also is undersized for a center. He's at 6'10", he's more of power forward size than center size. Though he plays a little more like a center.
Houston got away with it playing Hayes for like 2 years, who was like 6'6", so it can be done.
It can be done.
Are you trying to imply that Chuck Hayes is a model for a center? Like Chuck Hayes did it, and he was great, right?
Well,
Hayes.
I don't know. I see there was a team I think that won 73 games last year whose center was like 6'8".
Who was that?
That was
Isn't Green 6'8"?
oh man, who was?
Yeah,
that?
but Bogut was technically their starting center.
Oh, he's not their starting center. Come on.
Are you talking about? You're talking about the Rockets?
It could be, but no.
Oh wait.
The Warriors. Are you?
You know, let's just we know Mark's wrong on a lot of things, and we'll just move on with that.
Okay. Let's move
It's
on.
Bogut.
Okay, cool. It broke up. What's up?
No,
I think Green is the Warriors center is Green with Bogut
Right.
was occasionally playing, even though they started Bogut didn't whatever.
No, you're right. Like you're right. Yeah.
So one of the things I was thinking, the Thunder games happens, and then the Timberwolves the first game happens, and the thing I've been thinking about Melo, and Melo has played the opposite of since that game. At least the other night he played. So up to that point, in the Thunder game, he was forcing his own offense, stopping the ball, driving you insane, doing what Melo does. Did the same thing in the first Timberwolves game, though hit the game-winning shot, obviously. But the other night, on Friday night, in the Timberwolves game, he kind of played with the flow of the offense and exactly what you need from Melo. But do you think he's coachable at this point? Do you think
Melo?
Yeah. Do you think is Hornacek going to really make much of a difference? Like, does Melo just have to make these decisions that he's going to play within the offense on his own, or is he really taking in what the coach says? The coach can kind of alter his game.
I think that the Knicks ceiling is at a place where so Derrick Rose is MVP level, and Kristaps continues to be awesome because he's Kristaps, and Courtney Lee sort of conforms to his role, and they figure out some sort of center. I just think that the system makes itself, you know?
Yeah.
And that sort of abandons certain geometrical figures that have three sides and three angles, you know? If you're building an offense, or if an offense creates itself around like a pick and pop type thing with Derrick Rose and Kristaps, but I don't think, I think the Knicks ceiling is to not have a system. So why triangle? I'm sorry, I said the word.
The word that shall not be said.
Yeah. It's like we should be Pee Wee's Playhouse. Everything with triangle. Word of the day. It does seem the triangle stuff has died down. Phil has stopped whispering like news media. Hey, reporter, triangle. Unhappy we're waiting without. Like he's stopping doing that. Maybe that team meeting where they all talked to Phil and Phil finally just gave into what they're doing. They don't seem to be playing much of a triangle these days.
Maybe it wasn't a meeting; it was more of an intervention.
It seemed like when they asked Melo what happened what did you guys talk about with Phil, he goes, Phil listened, which is kind of like what you say after an intervention.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen Hoarders?
Yes.
That's the worst show ever.
Do you think Phil just collects triangle-shaped things and stashes them in his house, and there's going to be like an episode where they're going to go to his mansion and there's just going to be like triangles stuffed under the mattress? And like,
One can only hope.
I mean, that's a big part of why I think the offense has sort of opened itself up and they're playing a lot better is because, I mean, this team is exactly what you would not want to run a triangle with, right? I mean, is that just me?
No, I agree. I mean, Derrick Rose is not no one ever thought Derrick Rose was going to be like, oh, the perfect triangle. The only guy on this team, actually, that seemed like very triangle, like very good for the triangle was Noah.
Right. Yeah.
He seemed like the perfect triangle center, and he's of everyone on the team. And I know people are like, everyone gets mad anytime you.
Hi, this is more.Learn Morrison, here to tell you Geico has more than just great savings. Much more. Geico's been around for more than 75 years, back when they were using Morse code. Sorry, that's just my sense of humor. What's more, with Geico you get 24/7 access to licensed agents on the app, online, or over the phone, so you can talk to them at night or in the morning. So forevermore, just know that no other auto insurer has more than Geico. More power to you. Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.
Like when there are people that are like, oh crap, Noah's a disaster, and then there are people that rush in and go, hey, it's too soon. You have to wait for the full 4 years to decide about this, and like stop being such negative. Noah's the greatest player of all time, but Noah's been a disaster, and he's the only triangle guy on the team.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, there's no way of getting around that. And I mean, I try to temper. I think the reason why people are saying, wait, give it a full 4 years is because they're trying to balance out the hot take of, okay, Joakim Noah is a disaster, burn it all to the ground, like New York is under like siege and we're all going to die. They're trying to balance that out with an equally cold take, which is, okay, it might work out in the long run. And I think that's not thinking along the same line. I think that's incorrect. I think that's you should just let a hot take be hot, and maybe it's right, and it's also hot. So there's also the season, it's not good.
Yeah, the season started off with the Knicks playing like they got blown out 3 of the first 4 games. Like, it just started off like a disaster waiting, and you're like, this season's going to be a mess, and like, why'd they get all these players? And everyone jumped to the conclusion that it was like they're already tanking, and you had to say like, hey guys, like 9 new guys that haven't played before, played together before. All these new players, let them gel. Let's see how it goes, and they'll get better. And I guess the thinking is with Noah coming off the injuries, he'll eventually we're freaking out, but maybe by the All-Star game, he's going to be a pretty good player, and he'll get healthy, and that's possible. I can also grow wings out of my butt, and we'll see how those 2 things go.
Okay.
It's also,
guys, what do you think about Evan Turner trade for Joakim Noah? What do you guys think about that?
You're telling me you think anyone would take Joakim Noah's contract? Why would anyone take Noah's contract right now?
But wouldn't the same thing could be said for Evan Turner, right?
Yeah.
How bad has Turner been so far?
He's on pace to have the worst box score negative in league history because they keep playing him even though he's this huge negative. So he's just racking up these negative minutes. So like he'll go on the court and the team will fall behind by 10 points, but they'll do it again the next game and again the next game. So he's on pace to be really bad.
Do you know what his contract is?
It's equally huge. It might be the same.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Really? I knew he got a big contract. I actually think I knew that.
Wait, which is weird.
4 years, $70 million.
We can save $2 million.
Thank God for Phil, man. He knew the whole time.
Okay, so I guess which one's going to be more of a disaster? I mean, does Turner have any injury history?
No.
So he'll stay healthy. So that's you got to think if he stays healthy, he should go back. Like, everyone goes back to the mean. So he should go back to like how he's not this bad of a player. You would think if Noah stayed healthy his whole contract, he'd be better than he's doing right now.
Well, I think Evan Turner might be. I mean, he might be bad. It's really hard to figure out Evan Turner. Have you guys watched him? He has a really weird game. He plays like Michael Jordan, but he's not as good as Michael Jordan is. So it's weird.
Yeah, I saw a couple of games with him when he was on the Celtics, and it was kind of like 1 or 2 plays a game. You'd be like, oh, maybe this guy's decent. And then all the rest of the game, you're like, oof, why is he on the
court? Yeah.
I watched him against the Knicks, and the problem with watching players against the Knicks, you think they're all really good. I remember watching Bargnani against the Knicks, and I was like, wow, that guy the Raptors is really good.
We're getting the guy that scores 35 points a game? Awesome.
This will be perfect. It's just so hard to judge guys when you watch most of their playing against the Knicks.
Yeah, I think it's a worthwhile try because Evan Turner is as bad of a fit for Portland as Joakim Noah is for the Knicks. Because the thing is, even if Joakim Noah was operating at his realistic best right now, he still wouldn't be a good fit because he's a sort of triangle center. His best skill is arguably his passing, but I mean, in this offense, you don't want a passing center. You want a center who never passes. You want DeAndre Jordan. He didn't even average an assist, right? You that's not what you would want, you know?
I see. So I would take the other side of this. I would say if you have Noah playing, obviously he's not going to be Defensive Player of the Year again, but he plays serviceable defense and goes back to passing Noah, he could be a guy to play 20 minutes a night for your team. I mean, the Knicks, in fairness, I don't know how. So you're saying Turner's been a complete negative when he's on the court. Noah, if you even just look at the advanced statistics, he hasn't been that bad this year. It's hard to believe the advanced statistics when you're watching the games. But when he does get like 8 assists, the Knicks usually do play pretty well.
See, I'm thinking the other way. 3 teams have already been bamboozled into Turner. I feel like if you do that trade, you could probably trick another team into taking Turner at some point down the road, whereas this might be the only opportunity to get rid of Noah.
Yeah, that's part of it is that really this Joakim Noah thing. I don't want to scare you guys, but like
we're terrified.
This Joakim Noah thing, like a $20 million albatross, is the type of thing that means that you can't win a championship.
I think that's just league rules.
It sort of knocks you back a couple of rounds in contention. Like it could be really bad.
You understand that, like, we're Knicks fans, and most of our adult life we've had a $20 million albatross on the team. It's actually a position on the team. The $20 million albatross.
I thought it was actually league rules that you had to have one on the team at all times.
Yeah, I mean, like, Stephen Murray, Marbury, Eddie Curry, Amari. Like, it's Houston, I guess, for a little while. Like, it's like we need that. It's like, guys, where's our $20 million albatross? The summer's not over till we get one.
The weird thing is the one year we didn't have the $20 million albatross was the year we had the worst record in the history of the franchise.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't have one last year either, so. But, yeah, I know.
Oh, we went 2 entire years with that one? That's...
Yeah, it was, Phil had to, like, fine, Dolan, I'll get us an albatross.
Wait, didn't... Oh, yeah, no, it was 2 years ago that Melo missed 40 games, right?
Yeah. It was
right now, I'm thinking about Eddie Curry in bird form.
Do you think Noah's contract is the worst in the NBA? In the sense of, like, he's getting $18 million a year, and obviously Turner sounds like pretty bad also. But Mike Conley's getting $30 million a year. He's playing well, but he's getting $30 million a year to be Mike Conley.
Yeah. Okay, so it's on a different situation, Mike Conley's contract would be a real issue. But I mean, what was Memphis gonna do? I mean, this offseason, like they either could have like really gone to crap and they had a profitable run of basketball. Like people, I mean, during the grit and grind era, like people went to games, and right now fans can tell themselves that they're still in the grit and grind era. Like you needed to do that as an organization. But I feel like the Knicks are in a different situation organizationally, where you have Chris Stapps, who might be I don't know. I'm from Dallas, right? Like I know how significant it is to have something as weird and unique as having your best player be a 7'3" sniper off the dribble center. You know, like Dirk Nowitzki, just by being really weird and freaking teams out, got us to the playoffs year after year after year, and that's what Chris Stapps could be. So it's like you guys are in a different situation than Memphis, and since you're in like, okay, we have a generational talent mode, like that Joakim Noah contract is bad.
I mean, I have to say though, in Phil's like, so that this seems like the worst move of the Phil tenure is the Joakim Noah contract.
I think so.
I mean, it's hard not to argue. Hard to argue otherwise.
Let's not say he's the worst contract in the NBA yet. Let's just say he's on that path.
He's on pace.
Yes, he's on pace.
The advanced analytics show that it's a really bad contract.
I don't want to call it yet, but
so in Phil's defense, he's built an interesting team this year. What do you think overall of his job in the sense of, like, he's developed Hernan Gomez, second-round pick? That seems like a pretty good draft pick, and he's going to develop. Kuz seems like a pretty good find also.
Mm-hmm.
He turned he got what's his name? Holiday. Justin Holiday. Justin Holiday looks like he could be pretty. Like, he's got a bunch of young players that look like guys that you could build around Porzingis. The D-Rose seems like he's going to have a pretty good year. There are a lot of positives. I feel like, even forgetting, if we just pretend that Noah thing's not happening, we have a lot of positive things to, like, be happy about.
So, I mean, I'm sort of a NBA media stereotype, you know, like the big glasses, like nerdy basketball blogger, right? You know what I mean? And among my kin, I'm probably the highest on the Knicks, I would think, because you can't. The numbers would indicate that Derrick Rose is, like, never going to come back, but on a human level, I mean, it's like he was going to be one of the greatest basketball players in Chicago history and all this stuff. And then he got it totally taken away from him 2 years in a row. And honestly, I think every time for a couple of years that he drove to the basket and someone like Andrew Bogut, who, remember, this is a guy who's 7 foot tall. He looks like he would kill you. Like, if you were driving against Andrew Bogut, you would be terrified. And if your knees had just broken in half like 2 years in a row, back to back, you'd be even more terrified. So I basically think that as soon as Derrick Rose gets past his mental block, it's not like he's like Joakim Noah. His injuries were like critical injuries. Like, something happened and it broke. The reason I don't think that there's going to be a bounce back for Noah is because he was sort of like an eraser ground down to a nub. But Derrick Rose has all-star basketball left in him, I think. I think the only thing stopping that is mental, and I'm surprised how dismissive everyone has been. And I think it's because people have gotten a little too into the whole analytics movement, because, like, the stats would say that he would never come back. Anyways, long story short, I think Derrick Rose could be really good again. And I think that, Phil was probably smart to make that gamble. I mean, Robin Lopez is nice, but
I feel like the one thing I have to say is I feel like they didn't have to trade Robin Lopez to get him. I feel like they could have just said, we'll give you Sasha. And Bulls were like, we're trying to get rid of him, so it sounds good to us. But I think it's the advanced analytics. People, I was going to say that if you hadn't gone down that route. People get too crazy with this stuff. He had a bunch of unique circumstances. He's coming off this injury that takes a full 2 years to really heal. He's not going to trust his game completely until he's, like, been healthy for a while. You have to also use your eye test. You watch the guy playing; he looks pretty good right now.
Yeah,
I mean, I agree. He's not driving to the basket the way he used to drive the basket. Like, the way he used to come down was so, like, not reckless, but, like, you felt like he was going to cause a lot of impact on his knees. He seems more in control now. I think he's going to be pretty good.
I think so too. Yeah, I think that, like I said, he hasn't been ground down to a nub. He's had these big injuries, so his number of minutes isn't that high. So, I mean, he might. I don't think he's going to have the fatigue style injury type stuff necessarily. Anyways, I think I cut you off, Jay.
Oh no, keep going.
Oh, well, I was pretty much done. So
okay. It's also like he's 27 and Noah's 31. 31 is a much different age. Your career starts going downhill anyway at that point. Noah is at an age where, I mean, Rose is at an age where you can recover from this kind of thing. And I don't know, like, people like early in the season, they were like, the Knicks are the worst defense in the NBA after like 5 games, which they were. And they were like, it's in stone. You're done with this. This is it. Like, analytics say they're the worst defense. You're like, you know, the Knicks just also, like, they were building chemistry. The defense they're not going to be a very good defense, but, like, they could be a middle of the back defense. You give them time. People just kind of once you've played like 5 games, they lock you into like the analytics. They're like, this is what you are.
Yeah.
That kind of drives me crazy. Like last year, they were when Lance Thomas was becoming a decent 3-point shooter. They're like, this is impossible. In his career, he wasn't a good 3-point shooter. You're like, he took like 3-point shots before this. He didn't work on that game. You could work on that and get better. Dwayne Wade could shoot threes now, and I know everyone's amazed by it. You could work on a skill set and actually get better at that skill set.
Yeah, I mean, I took flack from my kin. I mean, my other thick rim glasses, basketball nerdy blogger, folk, like when I was like a cautious Knicks optimist, like I got a lot of flack, and part of it is because it is a volatile situation. Like we have to admit that so many things could go wrong right now. Like, I mean, are you guys watching this Kings game? Like,
the Knicks were winning by a lot, and now they're not.
Yeah, but I mean, at any minute, I don't want to say this. Hello, dog. I don't want to say this, but like at any minute, Derrick Rose could go down. But that could be said about any team. I don't know. I understand people's skepticism, but I think people were just being a little too dismissive about how big of a deal it is to have a starting lineup with that many threats, because Courtney Lee is a real threat. Like if you leave him open, he'll hit a 3, and Kristaps is a real threat. Like he's really good at a lot of stuff. And Carmelo's one of the best scorers, since he's been drafted in the NBA, like perennially every year. Derrick Rose was an MVP. Like if you have that much firepower, you're normally a good team. You have to have some real outside circumstances to tell me why that wouldn't be a good team. You know what I mean?
Outside of the injury concern with those Rose and Noah, my big thing also was the bench looked not shaky. They just looked insanely inexperienced coming into the season, and that was a big concern. But the bench is proving to be pretty decent.
Yeah, I guess they hired this scout who used to work for the one of the Spanish ball teams.
Real Madrid.
I think maybe. But they hired some new big mega international scout, and he was the guy who was like, okay, get Kuzminskis, get Hernan Gomez, and he was the guy who originally was like, hey, this Kristaps kid is for real. So I mean, it seems like the team that really started that was the Spurs, and they've pulled guys like that out of their ass all the time. And now the Nuggets have started doing it, and they got Jokic I think he was like the 55th pick or something like that. So, I mean, the Knicks, like, that was a really smart move, because I don't think NBA teams have tapped into the foreign market correctly yet. I think that the Knicks are ahead of the curve with that.
Wait, hang on a second. Are you saying the Knicks are ahead of the curve on anything?
I know. I was just about
insane.
to say, like, I was just about to say that feels really weird to say, but I mean, for real, like that's cool, right? Like that's good.
No, the Knicks have actually in the last couple of years also been good at finding players who weren't high draft picks and having them play well for them. If you look at guys like Chris Copeland played pretty well, even though he hasn't done well since he left the team. They had who else has done well for them? Jay, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Who's done well after leaving the Knicks?
No, before they left the Knicks.
Oh,
they're 1 year fines.
Oh, 1 year. Usually they do much better after they leave. I could spat off about 12 players right now if you want to do that, but while they were on the Knicks, Landry Fields,
he was okay on the Knicks.
And then out of the NBA like 2 years later.
Yeah, everyone's out of the NBA really fast. Either way. This is, you would think investing in scouts would be a given, and trying to invest in scouts that where the players are undervalued would be another given. I guess also it's nice the Knicks are the Spurs obviously were at the forefront of realizing that hey, the other leagues, it's not like we play this exceptionally high level of basketball that's so much better than other levels. Like other players can be good in other leagues.
You know who had one good year on the Knicks? Zach Randolph. Who thought that guy was going to be good?
Yeah, no, we got rid of him because we were getting LeBron. And we got LeBron, so it worked out.
People crapped all over Randolph when he was here too. It was the weirdest thing. The guy was putting up 20 and 10, and everyone hated him.
I don't know what they did. The going all in for LeBron, I still revisit that as one of the, and I understand why the Knicks did it, but like one of the biggest disasters of pushing all your chips to the center and just having it like blow up in your face completely.
Yeah.
The thing is, you didn't have to save all that money and then spend it when you didn't get LeBron.
It was also like the Knicks. I know Jordan Hill didn't really work out, but it was just the most bizarre thing. You draft the guy eighth pick in the draft and get rid of him as fast as humanly possible because you have to make sure LeBron's going to come here.
Well, it's like Dallas is always trying to get a big free agent, but when they don't go for like their 7th guy on the list and then give him all their money.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, at least here we got our targets. We targeted Noah with 4 years, $72 million, and the competing offer of please leave Chicago wasn't a good match for him, so we liked our offer better.
Yeah. I don't know. I think you guys should pursue the Evan Turner thing. And also that frees up Porzingis to play at the center, right? Like,
yeah, I think this is I feel like you have Noah coming off 2 of the worst years of his career. Turner was good last year, right? They also would have gotten 4 years, $70 million. He had
a decent year.
I feel like he's a guy that can get to the basket. He does a lot of things. I will do the trade. I'm good. Could you can make it happen? Who do I call?
I'll make some phone calls.
You got Phil's direct dial?
Yeah, I was just texting him earlier, so I'll send him a couple of emojis and he'll know what's up. But I mean, it's also the reason why I think it could happen, right? Because ostensibly you look at it and it's like, why would anyone take Noah's contract? But it's like, you guys don't have the worst Plumlee. Miles Plumlee is like watching. It should be illegal for Miles Plumlee, or not Mason Plumlee, to play basketball, and he's starting at center for the Trailblazers, and that's why they have the worst defense in the league.
Oh, he's putting up such good fantasy numbers, though. He's on my team, and he's like on triple-double watch every game.
Wait, we have Marshall. How could that family just like name their kids something different? Like, why are there so many M's in the goddamn family? He looked Marshall Plumlee looked pretty the other night when he played against the T-Wolves. Like, he looked pretty decent. I
haven't watched him enough. Is he good? I don't know.
I mean, he hasn't played that much, but he played the other night in the first T-Wolves game because they didn't have Noah, and that was the night that Cock wasn't having a huge game, and he looked pretty decent. That was also a night that Towns scored. I think he scored 180 points against the Knicks. Not positive, but they couldn't stop him. They put in Plumlee. He actually, of the centers, he performed the best against Towns. And I was joking. I was like, "Oh, this is perfect. Now I understand why the Knicks signed Plumlee to a $72 million 4-year deal." That Towns game was kind of crazy, though. Did you watch that game?
So which one?
Well,
I watched the one where O'Quinn went nuts, and not the other one.
So that game was great, and also it was interesting because the night before, or the 2 days before, the Towns game where he had 47 points against the Knicks, and then he came out and like the Knicks shut him out in the first quarter of the game, the following game, which was interesting. But Towns, someone was saying, they were like, oh, you know, if the Knicks, like the Timberwolves called and offered Towns straight up for the Porzingis, I wouldn't even do it. And I'm like, first of all, why are you putting in these hypothetical situations that they're not going to call and make this offer? And if they did, you probably would do the trade. I love Porzingis. Towns looks like he might be a little bit better, which is fine. You could have Porzingis still looks like he's going to be a great player. He doesn't have to be better than Towns.
You see, it's weird. I think that Towns will be a better player, but I think that Kristaps will have a more profound effect on the team. You know, I think that it will break a lot of teams to have Kristaps at center once he's fully formed. Because, like, you know, you can't say you're playing against a team that has Shaq, right? Like, what do you do about Kristaps being the best player on the team that you're playing against? Do you just like let him kill you all day? I just think that I think that, like, you know, like I said, right? I'm from Dallas, right? I watched Dirk just tear apart. I mean, that's how we won against a much better team in 2012. We just put Dirk at center, and like they didn't know what the hell to do. And I think that's what I mean. Hassan Whiteside, right? Great center, awesome center. Right now, statistically, the best rim protector in the league. You can't protect the rim if you're not there. If you're 30 feet away chasing Porzingis around, you're not protecting the rim. And like, that's a huge deal. So I think that Kristaps, his shot looks better, and people are going to be more prone, maybe just because he's a skinny white dude, to like hug him. And if that's a center, then like you now don't have DeAndre Jordan near the basket, and everyone's going to look so much better because of him.
Well, it's also like the whole thing of going small is that you get a lineup of 5 guys who are super athletic, and your center can do a lot of things a regular center can't do. But the ultimate take it to the next level is actually having a guy who's actually tall enough to be a center but can play small ball, which makes it almost impossible to stop.
Right. Yeah. No. And I think that. Yeah, I don't know. I would need to think about whether I wanted Kristaps or Towns. I think Towns is better, though. You know what I mean?
Do you think there's a chance Towns will like spend like 10, 12 years in Minnesota and like put up these amazing numbers? The team won't do anything, and then he'll get traded to the Celtics and win a title? It's got to
good, right?
It's got to be awful playing in, like being a Minnesota fan, because you're like, wow, Towns is really good. I guess he'll be gone soon.
I just had Zach Harper on the podcast, and like we walked down memory lane with like I basically led him like to that conclusion, like, hey, Towns is KG. And I mean, doesn't that make you die a little inside, just like from like a human empathetic, like we're all basketball fans, we all love sports, no one wants to see this happen.
I had to look back. I don't know. I was thinking about Garnett the other day because of Towns, and I was like, was Garnett really as good as I think he was? Like, I just want to look back at the stats.
I think he was even better.
He was better than I remember. I'm like, how the hell were they? Except for that 1 year with Sprewell, how were they? How could you put together such a bad team around him every year?
They made the playoffs every year with that garbage team too.
I mean, Garnett was so goddamn good. You would just think you would will them to make it to the conference finals at least on like a regular basis.
Well, God, it's just there. You could just put him at the free throw line, and if you didn't have like 3 real offensive options, then like everything was shut down because he was just this blur, that would just kill everyone. He was covering point guards, but also protecting the rim at the same time most nights. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he was a pretty goddamn amazing player. It's amazing how bad Minnesota was.
What do you guys want Kristaps to be like? So I'll give you an example, right? Like, do you want him to put on 40 pounds or 20 pounds? Do you want him to have more of a drive to the basket and finish over people, or stick with like the pull-up jump shot? Like, what do you, if you guys could like choose his development path, like what would that look like?
I don't
Choose your
get
adventure with him.
Well, I don't get the
Are we
whole
doing this Dungeons and Draft Picks thing again?
I don't get the whole obsession with the weight thing. If people remember, Garnett was really thin his entire career and did fine, and I'm pretty sure Kevin Durant is pretty light, and last I checked, he's doing pretty well too.
I think people like in their head they're like, well, once Porzingis looks like Shaq, it'll be amazing.
Yeah.
I don't get what the obsession with that is.
But there's a difference. I mean, Kevin Durant may have not gained all that much weight, but he's ripped. You know what I mean? Like his muscle definition is more significant. I mean, he came into. I remember when people were freaking out, and it actually made Greg Oden get picked first, right? That whole he couldn't bench press 140 once. You remember that?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, like that. People freaked out because that was a big deal, and it sort of was. I mean, his game needed to do that. I don't know, but like, I mean, there are different shades of it, right? Like, so it sounds like you guys are okay. 20 pounds, not 40. Like, let's not make this guy a bruiser.
I just don't
40,
see the
I think
point.
40 would be ridiculous.
Yeah.
you can't put on that much, and like I would be worried his game would change too much. 20 pounds seems like what you expect from him. He builds. You want him to get his legs. You don't need the upper body to get that much stronger, but you need the legs to get stronger. And 20 pounds seems pretty reasonable. And that'll also like throughout the course of the season, I imagine also just having extra weight. Kind of, you probably lose some of the weight and lose some of the muscle throughout the season because you're working so hard that having a little more will give him a little more stamina throughout the season.
See, I think he's got some tree trunks. I think his legs are good. I think he like doesn't have an ass in a more literal way than you would normally say about someone who doesn't have an ass. Like it's like a flat surface, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm concerned about his upper body strength. Like, so were you guys watching the game when Garrett Temple blocked him? Today. Like
Yeah. I saw that actually. I know what you're talking about. You know what the thing is? I'm not that concerned. He could. I'm not that concerned. I still not that concerned about his upper body. I feel like he'll get strong. He needs to get stronger on his upper body also, but I don't think he needs to be like have like these giant arms or like get that much stronger. A lot of it will just kind of come over time. I think more naturally.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like the idea of him going to the weight room and putting on like 20 extra pounds this off season, getting too bulky and having his grip is shot.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, I agree. I'm trying to, there's gotta be a happy balance somewhere because I think it does mean something to just be ripped as far as defensively, like not be movable. I think his offensive game, there's probably like a slider somewhere where the amount of weight that he has on him affects his offensive game because he's sort of like an agile finesse player, right? Mm-hmm. But defensively, like all of his limitations are because, so for example, right, he had all of those great early on in his rookie year, all of those great putback dunks, and those have gotten increasingly less frequent, I feel like, because he can't just go through people, you know?
Well, I think part of it also was before people were not scouting him as heavily, and they weren't expecting him. They weren't expecting him to do that. Now you're like, always watch out for Porzingis. Porzingis puts back dunks, and teams are going to be like they're going to guard against that more. So it's hard.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying, right? Like what you would hope is that they have the scouting report, and it just doesn't matter, right?
But I feel like the putback dunks, though, like you really, if a team's like focusing on you, the only reason you get the putback dunks is because teams aren't paying attention. I feel like. So you said, what kind of player would you be? Like a spot-up shooter or more of a drive to the basket? Now, I think like Porzingis is amazing is he can do a little bit of everything. He has this finesse touch to it, like a guard-like playing ability at 7'3", which makes him crazy. He could step back for a shot, shoot a three, and drive to the basket. I want to see him do more of everything. I feel like also like the more you get in the ball, the more you're shooting, the better your team's just going to play. More nights, he's usually pretty efficient. He doesn't have too many games where he doesn't shoot like 3 for 20 very often. And you also it creates the team has to focus so much on him that it'll open up other guys. And he seems like he's a decent passer also.
Napa know-how.
A Napa guy knows the only way you'd give a freshly minted driver a brand new car is if he promises to never drive it. Instead, let him grind the gears and knock over the neighbor's mailbox in something a little more suited to his skill level. And with over 500,000 parts and a little Napa know-how, he can safely drive something that's nearly as old as he is. It's not perfect, but it's perfect for him. That's Napa know-how.
Napa know-how.
Hi, this is more.Learn Morrison, here to tell you Geico has more than just great savings. Much more. Geico's been around for more than 75 years, back when they were using Morse code. Sorry, that's just my sense of humor. What's more, with Geico you get 24/7 access to licensed agents on the app, online, or over the phone, so you can talk to them at night or in the morning. So forevermore, just know that no other auto insurer has more than Geico. More power to you. Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.
Yeah. No, I think you guys are saying the same thing. I mean, it's like what? You want a 4-inch taller Dirk. It sounds like that's pretty much it.
Right? Yeah, of course. Like, why would we not want one of the greatest players of all time, like him to become that? Like,
well, because there's something to be said for the fact that it's like there is defense too, and Dirk was never. They won in spite of Dirk's defensive shortcomings. You know,
I think Porzingis, the big thing on defense is just kind of learning. Like, it's when the defense get like just learning the switches, learning where he needs to be on defense. I think the bigger thing, he's actually looked like he has a pretty good defensive instincts so far. He blocks. I don't remember exactly how Dirk was always on defense, but it seems like
Bad.
Okay. Porzingis gets blocks. He gets guys to alter their shots. He seems like he can recover well. He's not an amazing defender, but I feel like he's going to get better and better on defense. I mean, the guy's 21 years old. I like where he is on defense so far. I feel like he's going to be 3 to 5 years from now. He'll both be obviously better on offense, but I think he'll be a very decent defensive player, if not a very good one. Jay, what do you think?
Yeah, you're right about it. It seems like he knows where to be. Sometimes he might be a little slow, but it looked like a couple games where it like right in the middle of the play, he's like, oh crap, I should be over there, and you see him going over there, and he's a little late, but he realizes what he did, and I don't think those will be problems later in his career.
As Phil would say, I think he's a learner.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and he seems like he's got a good head on him. Like he, even that rookie season when he had his like 28 points, and he's like, yeah, but we didn't win, and that's all that matters, and I don't really care about individual stats, and like he just seems like he's got a good head on him.
You know what I want to see more of? I mean, like there's something you see Porzingis do something on a play, and you're like, why can't they do it every play? Why can't they get Porzingis more the ball when he's moving to the basket? Like when he's cutting to the basket and getting the ball, almost always something good happens. Either he scores or there's a foul. I know it's not always easy to get the ball guy, like teams are guarding for that, but like it's just like a couple times a game they always get in the ball while he's moving to the basket, and you're always like, wow, that was so easy. Why don't we do that every play?
It seems like we have certain players on the team that are good at doing that, and others that just don't have that court vision.
So we have a bunch of questions that from listeners. Yeah, you want to do some questions with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Cool. Jay, you want to start with emails?
Sure. Let's do emails. That's not the page I had up, but we'll do that.
I also gotta say the European guys. I feel like one thing. They're both really good passers. Cruz and Hernan Gomez. I feel like the ball always moves when they're on the court.
Yeah, no, it's like Charles Barkley was saying like the Warriors play that freaking girly basketball. You know what I mean? Like, okay, so that's how you win, right? Is you play girly basketball. Like you move the ball around and you take 3-pointers. You know what I mean? Like you run good stuff. Like
yeah, I don't see what the problem with I don't see what the problem is trying to take good efficient shots and getting them through passing. That seems like how you're supposed to play basketball.
Right. And so I'm thinking to myself, like, it's the same thing with the whole European basketball. Like they've figured out ways to like make it work and be just as good despite not being like 6'9" and able to jump 50 inches, like
I mean the style has been tested. They actually beat our Olympic team a couple times. So I think we have to say like there's something to that European style.
Yeah, like God. But yes, I think that's a thing.
Yeah. Well, I think the league also in Barkley's day it was a little bit tougher league, or that they allowed more. I mean, obviously the '90s Knicks were different. It's a different kind of basketball league. Also, they call too many things these days, and you can't like play the exact same game way you used to play.
It's funny. Tom Haberstroh had this whole thing where he was comparing Barkley's MVP season, the season when he made it to the finals on that Suns team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he was like, so that team was first in offense, and then the Warriors this year are first in offense, and that team was 9th in defense, and the Warriors this year are 9th in defense so far, and 3rd in pace, and then 3rd in pace. And it was like, it was like, the closest historical comparison to the way that the Warriors played was like Barkley's Suns team.
Interesting. I love that team. That was a fun team.
Yeah. And I love the Warriors. I mean, I wish that I was from Golden State or that they would take their team to where I am. But
yeah.
I mean, we were joking, like, would it be like, what would it have been like to do like a Golden State Warriors podcast like last year? You'd be like, we won again. We're amazing. How do you want to fill the next 15 minutes? You want to just talk about how amazing the team is? Let's talk about how amazing the team is.
Will we get 70 wins or 73
wins? You guys could ask the guys from the Warriors Huddle, ABPN's Golden State Warriors podcast.
Now that
There's
we're
a
part
lot
of this network, we
bragging.
should. Yeah.
And yeah, they just talk about how great they are a lot. There's a lot of that.
Are we going to have 4 All-Stars or 5 All-Stars this year?
What do you guys do during the podcast? Mostly we just say Curry's really amazing, Durant's really amazing, and we touch our nipples.
We just. Oh God.
So Lorenzo writes,
Silicon Valley. All right, Lorenzo.
let's say the Knicks have one great player every 50 years or so, and they retire each of these guys' numbers. Do you think that in about 5,000 years' times, all the numbers from 1 to 100 will be used up? So what will they do? I might have too much time on my hands.
Well, maybe they could go to negative numbers, starting with Noah.
Yep.
NYKnicksPodcast@gmail.com is the email. Tristan writes, what are some possible moves the Knicks could make to get rid of Noah and his malignant tumor of a contract?
I had said when we signed him, my first tweet was, I wonder what assets we'll have to give up to get rid of this contract. And now it's an actual question people are asking.
Our Twitter is NYKnicksPodcast, and it's I think it's underrated, so you should follow it.
So outside of the Turner idea, which actually sounds pretty reasonable, how else would you package? How would you get rid of Noah? Like, what would the Knicks have to give up?
You could. I mean, there's a couple of teams in pretty bad situations. Like maybe Memphis or Dallas would be willing to say that, okay, we've got at least 4 years until we have something significant. Like, just give us like a 2020 protected first rounder and, one of your European guys, or Holiday is kind of good. Maybe you could do something like that. Maybe. I mean, I don't know.
How painful! Like, the thing is, we're trying to build a team, and we have to keep giving up assets to get rid of players.
Yeah,
that's
not how you're supposed to do it. I'm pretty sure.
Shouldn't they just have an amnesty in the new? When's the new agreement coming in?
Next year.
Next year. They've already said.
I think they finalized it, but we don't know what it is yet.
Well, that's good news.
They got to do another amnesty. I mean, they got the Knicks are in the league. You have to give us an amnesty every 4 years.
Mark, you had my favorite tweet last week. I forgot to mention that.
What was my tweet?
It was during the Minnesota game, and he said Towns' career high is 40-something points, and in the Knicks defense, they held him to way under that in the first quarter.
Which was true. I mean, he only got 25 points in the first quarter.
Kurt Fudge,
when I was watching the game earlier, I said, Mendaugas Kuzminskis looks like he carries the weight of horrible things he may have done in the Balkans.
Nice. Kurt Fudge writes, hey guys, my name is Curtis at Kurt OALBeon on Twitter. I am from Birmingham, England, so the wife and I booked up to come over to New York City in January. Fortunately, the Knicks are playing when we're over, so we have tickets for the Charlotte game. I never really watched basketball as it's not really available in the UK, but seeing as I'm watching a game next year, I thought I'd put a little bit of homework in and get up to speed on the game. So I bought the Knicks season ticket online, and I've watched every game, and while I'm still coming to terms with the rules and terminology, here are my thoughts. I'm sure you'll find them amusing. This guy Noah, what a guy. He's a cross between Khal Drogo from the Game of Thrones and possesses the ball handling of a T-Rex. Everything seems like a comedy of errors, and he plays like he knows the camera is always watching, so he styles out his, I don't know if we're allowed to say this anymore, poopy plays with some little rant, very amusing. D-Rose is king. I love watching that guy. I'm a football, in parentheses, soccer fan. I've had a season ticket with West Brom for 17 years, so everything's in football terms. And with D-Rose, he's a tricky winger that makes you stand out of your seat when he gets the ball. Exciting to watch and ice cool. KP, man, how icy cool is that guy? I wish he was nastier, though, a bit more arrogant, With a pinch more arrogance, I think this guy could be incredible. Finally, girls firing T-shirts out of cannons, game changer. Your podcast is helping me learn this wonderful sport, and you guys are damn funny to listen to. Keep up the good work. Go Knicks, or whatever you guys say. Oh, before I go, that defense chant, is that to remind players to play defense?
Good email.
Thank you very much.
I do have to say, when Noah, and not to go on Noah again, like when he does some like good play and then he like hits his chest like he's Conan the Barbarian.
Mm-hmm.
Do you like when he does that?
I do.
I liked it when he was good.
Yeah.
I kind of like when he was good. I actually kind of like that whole thing, but it is kind of showmanship also. Whatever. But good email.
Like his first couple of games with the Knicks, he had a really good game and he was doing that. I'm like, oh, I love this guy. And now I'm like, dude, you have 4 points. Stop it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you can get away with being Deion Waiters if you're actually Dwayne Wade. It's one of those things, you know?
Yeah. Any more emails?
We had a website comment. I think you wanted to read that.
Do I don't have it in front of me.
I got it. It's time to be patient. All is not lost yet, but it's starting to look that way, isn't it? All I suggest is to play the kids more. So this is right after the Thunder game.
But by the way, we don't have 37 emails that are this long.
Right. So that by January, February, they'll be able to reduce those kids' fouls and help the team. Hornacek is right in keeping the rotation fluid until he's sure he knows personnel inside and out. How about using Baker a little more as it becomes apparent that the Knicks have no chance of making the playoffs? Use February 1st as the cutoff date. I would not say that the Knicks have no chance of making the playoffs. I would actually argue that
I think they will make the playoffs.
Yeah.
I would be surprised. This team, I feel like it's an epic failure if they don't make the playoffs. And they look like they have the talent to make the playoffs. This is probably a 42 to 45 win team, which should make the playoffs in the East.
The East is bad.
Have you guys watched the Magic?
Yeah, they're not good. I have 3 Magic guys on my fantasy team because they just put up good stats on garbage teams.
How do you? I mean, I don't really understand also how you could be so bad for so long and just not ever get better.
Trust the process.
Yeah, I guess it's the Philly trust the process. Like Magic, they've had like a ton of high picks, and I don't know what the hell they're doing over there. I think
they're keeping guys like Kyle O'Quinn in pre-K.
Yeah,
just like sit on the bench and let your talent rot.
I really wanted Dwight Howard to go back there just to like complete the circle and like something to get. Whatever. I assume they'll bottom out at some point, get a once in a lifetime center, and have him play on the team for 2 years.
Lorenzo writes, "What are your thoughts on the Knicks' honky lineup? KP, Kuz, Plumlee, Sasha, with Jennings thrown in."
Now that Trump is president, that's the lineups we have to have. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of any lineup that has Sasha in it.
Hey, I
think they're scrappy and they play hard and have high basketball IQs, you know?
Well, Sasha, but you know what? I have to say the Machine, as we should call him, I don't know how he got the nickname the Machine, but I think it is kind of a hilarious nickname. He actually has been okay this season. He has been only playing in spurts, and he can shoot his shot is he can shoot the 3. He hasn't been that bad. Jay, I know you probably hate Sasha more than just about anyone on this planet. What do you think of Sasha? How Sasha's been?
He's been all right in the 5 or 6 minute spurts he's played, but I'd still rather see him never on the court ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, he hit 2 threes the other night against Minnesota.
He might be the worst player in the league.
Yeah. Eric, who has been writing recaps after every game on the New York Knicks podcast.com, wrote, "Looking forward to our Kyle O'Quinn apology episode next Sunday."
We have to. I think we've been bashing Kyle O'Quinn a lot because I feel like he's been a negative on the court a lot because of the dumb things he's been doing. But he's looked. Did he have a good game recently? I can't remember.
See, here's the thing. Every time we bash a player, they have a good game, and then when we do an apology episode, they start sucking again. So I'm going to leave it. I'm not touching it.
We're pretty sure that Noah's going to have like a 40-point, 40-rebound game coming up.
I hope he's building up all this negativity for them.
But yeah, Kyle O'Quinn's looking pretty good. He hasn't played that much tonight though.
I wouldn't jump to apologize yet. I mean, he's probably a little bit limited, but he's good. I mean,
the Knicks.
You guys were saying like someone who can play 20 minutes when Porzingis, because you don't want Porzingis playing all of his minutes at the center. That's probably a little hard.
Right.
So for the minutes that Porzingis is playing but not playing center, like, why not? Kyle O'Quinn fits well, I think, into that lineup.
Yeah.
I mean, to really win, you need a bunch of really good role players, not just stars. We need guys who can play and put in solid and have like every once in a while have a big night for us.
I'm just thinking about last season with Lance Thomas, where we bashed him, and then he had 3 good games, so we did an apology, and then he was terrible the rest of the season. So
I think we had like 20 like messages on Facebook where they were like, "Jay, apologize right to him." So Jay eventually apologized, and he disappeared.
Lorenzo writes, "Hey guys, you know how you look at a box score and sometimes next to players it says DNP flu or DNP injured? If Marc and Jay were in the NBA but lived their otherwise normal lives, what would their DNP excuse be? Here are some I prepared. Marc DNP chasing ants. Marc DNP valve cap cancer. Marc DNP Jewish holiday." A lot of these are references from our comedy podcast, The Brink of Sanity. Jay DNP pulled hamstring walking too fast. And Jay DNP CPA exam. Thank you, Lorenzo, our MVP of emails.
Yes. We got the Twitter?
Yes. And anybody who doesn't listen to our Brink of Sanity podcast has no idea what that email meant.
Yeah, they were actually all references to, outside the fact that they did DNP, there was all references to the Brink Show, which you should listen to because we enjoy it. Why not?
Is it possible to have a podcast not about basketball? I didn't know that they allowed you to do that.
Yeah, you can.
This is actually our spin-off podcast because we originally had Brink, and we were talking more and more about basketball. And we're like, yeah, the people listening to a comedy podcast don't want to hear this.
I remember we were coming with the name of the show, and Jay's like, the game's like something like some kind of posting and toasting type like
like
name,
swishing and dishing podcast.
And I was like, let's just call it the New York Knicks podcast. And Jay's like, but that just sounds like it's like we're gonna get sued. I'm like, yeah, let's just see what happens. Like people at least will be able to find it.
So far, it's worked out. Strive writes, should the Knicks change the starting lineup and leave Quinn as the starter? Team is 4-0 with Quinn in the middle.
Oh, they are.
Yeah,
I had noticed.
What do you think? What do you think about that? Like Noah did not like coming off the bench last year in Chicago. Do you think it'd be reasonable for the Knicks to try to do this again? Why? First of all, why is the starting lineup sacred? Why can you never change the starting lineup without people going crazy? Why can't it be more of a changeable, like, hey, tonight we're going to put Courtney Lee on the bench because we need a little more bench press points, and we're going to start Justin Holiday a little more, and without Courtney Lee being insulted, or why can't we start, like, saying, hey, Noah, we're going to put you.
Didn't we destroy past coaches for having too many different starting lineups?
Yeah, I know. But now that we only have one starting lineup, I have to go the other way on this. I feel like,
so here's my thinking, right? So I feel like you have to bring him off the bench because there's a real chance that now that he's in New York, his city, and that he's might be a bit of a debauchery prone type of guy, right? And he I'm not convinced that he's like practicing or like working. I feel like you have to put him on the bench, especially if it's going to piss him off, because he either gets pissed off and starts like working harder and realizes they got replaced by like Rick Ross in the starting lineup, or he continues to be on the bench and like that's embarrassing and he should be embarrassed, or his injuries mean that he should be coming off the bench and like it's just sort of a mercy thing. I feel like in every universe he needs to be coming off the bench.
What if during the opening lineups they had that nun from Game of Thrones just spray water on him and yell shame?
I feel like you're right. I feel like that's a good point. Also, like he should be like, the shame point actually kind of nailed it. But like he should be like, oh, I need to work harder. I need to earn my spot in the starting lineup again. And when you earn it, you go back to it. Basically, I have to say, I like the job Hornacek is doing. I am a big fan of Hornacek, and I feel like no matter what happens this season, Hornacek is a pretty solid coach.
Or maybe they could do
I haven't watched him really closely, but smart people tell me that he's really good.
Maybe they could do with Noah like they do with dog shaming, where he has to wear a sign around his neck that says, I'm a starting center in the NBA, and I average 4 points a game.
They
could,
Noah shaming. I'm all for it.
Phil Jackson could try to find a sex tape and hold it.
DigiGeek
to
TV
send it out.
right before sweeps week. DigiGeek TV writes, we got to talk about Hakeem. I think we've mentioned him once or twice. He also writes, personally, O'Quinn starting over Noah seems like the smart thing to do, but we are the Knicks, so...
We are the New York Knicks.
We are. Yeah, I also have kind of like the. I wouldn't mind when Courtney Lee comes back. Not the knock on him. I kind of like having Holly in the starting lineup and having Courtney Lee coming on the bench because I feel like he would add some more to our bench lineups. Just mix stuff up a little bit. But Hornacek has been. He's gone with smaller lineups. He has done double point guards. He's done a lot of smart things where I'm like, we have a coach that's paying attention and kind of adapting.
I think he's
insane.
The best coach we've had in a long time.
I mean, I'm just used to a coach being like, "Here's my system. I don't care how ridiculous it is with the lineup talent I have. We're going with it."
Yeah.
Yeah. Derek Fisher. I think Derek Fisher might have been okay, but he was such a dick.
Yeah.
Where he's like, when I decide what ladies I want to date, I just try to figure out who in the NBA I've played with and see what their girlfriends are.
Like, God, and he would always wear. There's no other coach in the NBA that would wear like a black button-up shirt with a black coat and like black shoes. Like, who does he think he is? Like, it's
very strange.
Yeah. Fisher could have. It's also hard when you're when you're a new coach. Also, like you're gonna have the Knicks. He was better than Rambis, but either way, I'm a fan of Hornacek, so we'll see. And I kind of. It's not like we were all wanted. A lot of us wanted Tibbs. I wanted Tibbs. It's not like Minnesota is a defensive stalwart right now. And everything takes time, and Tibbs does. There's something I was reading about how they're like. Phil really he really was concerned about what Tibbs did with running down his players in Chicago. And that's part of the reason he didn't go. He necessarily didn't want Tibbs coming in. Or that's the
he's
theory
mentioned
why he
he's keeping a close eye on Luol Deng like 8 times already.
The weird thing about that though is he was concerned about how Tibbs was like managing his minutes with his players, and then took 2 of those players.
Yeah, I was about to say like, gee, yeah, I agree. You would never want to sign a 30-year-old center who's played under Tibbs for his entire career to a $72 million contract.
Yeah, that would be insane. But thank God we all learned earlier in the show, Ashton Kutcher was punking us. It's a 1-year, $5 million deal.
DigiGeek TV writes $72 million, and he's in a legit danger of being a third-string center behind Gomez and O'Quinn.
Are you knocking Plumlee? Plumlee's been pretty good. Go on.
Strive writes,
he's a Plumlee.
why the Knicks don't flop or draw more fouls, a.k.a. Harden. I will never complain about a team not flopping enough. I hate it's the worst thing in the NBA, so I'm glad the Knicks don't do that.
Forget flopping though. Why don't the Knicks get more fouls? Like legitimately, like they should be getting. Forget the flopping. The Knicks should get more fouls. And it's not.
Yeah.
What's wrong with their style of play that they're not getting more fouls?
I mean, so Derrick Rose had the whole. We talked a little bit about his psyche, right? Carmelo's face-up game has sort of turned into a back to the basket game. You know, I don't think he's like blowing by people, and you really draw fouls when help defense comes in too hard, right? Yeah. And then, like I was saying, like I don't think Kristaps can finish through people. I think that, you know, if Kristaps runs into a wall, he just runs into a wall. I think they don't have that guy. But you know, Derrick Rose could end up being that guy. It'll take a while though.
Noah's shooting free throws right now.
Clunk.
Holy shit. Why can't he's not a bad free throw shooter even despite his weird style, he's not a bad free throw shooter for his career. Why is he's shooting, they just put a statistic, he's shooting 28% from the free throw line this year.
He had 5 straight years shooting over 70%. I don't get how you just devolve that much.
Did he go to Shaq free throw camp over the summer? I need to learn what? It's maddening.
It's very weird.
Yeah.
I don't understand it.
And those were 2 really big free throws in this game. The Knicks are up by 5, and those free throws would have kind of helped the Knicks win the game tonight. Thank you,
God,
Noah.
he just got killed by DeMarcus. Like DeMarcus just totally. He was trying to box out DeMarcus, and just that was.
For those that aren't watching the game, Chris is being literal. He's actually dead now, so the contract doesn't matter anymore.
All right, let's try and go through these questions a little quicker. Strive writes, as Hornacek outcoached all the Knicks candidates the Knicks fans wanted over him, Thibs, Vogel, Walton.
Yeah. I think he's not Walton's done a pretty good job with the LA, but he's done a good enough job that we're totally fine with Phil's decision.
Yeah, definitely outcoaching Thibs and Vogel though. Triple G, right? Should Porzingis be more aggressive, looking for a shot than being passive at times? I think Porzingis is taking a lot of shots. I don't think he's being that.
Yeah, I think he's about right.
Yeah,
he was passive earlier in the year, but I think he's gotten. I know I just missed 2 more free throws. Holy crap! Anyway.
Strive writes, is giving Rose an extension of 3 years for $25 million per a good deal if he stays healthy, or look elsewhere?
It's not a good deal. It might not be the worst thing in the world, like I think some people think it would be.
But here's the thing. So I guess now, for whatever reason, now the Knicks are eligible to re-sign him at this point in the year for extension.
Yeah.
But how? I am totally up for discussing extending him and giving him a decent amount of money to extend him. But why in God's name would you seriously even remotely consider extending him before the end of the season? You want to see him healthy for the whole season before you extend him.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, like, they're like, the Knicks haven't discussed Derrick Rose extension yet. What's going on? And you're like, you know what's going on? It's a slow news day, and you need to write something better.
Yeah.
Triple G. And I mean, I think that I think that there's like 2 teams who would realistically offer him more than that much money. I mean, he's only going to get 25 from either the Kings or the Knicks. And I think that, if he wants to choose to go to the Kings because you guys want to wait and see if you can snag a younger point guard who can develop alongside Porzingis, like, I think that you just let him go to the Kings, and it's just like, well, you're an idiot, Like,
I mean, if he goes the full season, though, like, you have to think, like, if he goes the full season and stays healthy, like, he's 27. I'm kind of fine with him playing the next 5 years alongside Porzingis if he's healthy. And if you get him to only sign for 3 years, that'd be amazing. But I'm down. Jay? When you said lightning round, were you planning on not reading the questions?
Well, I don't want to talk over you. Triple G writes, is Hornacek the best Knicks coach since Jeff Van Gundy? I would say so.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you
what
feel
about Rambus?
moving on? Do you feel that Tom Tibbs is a liability as a coach for playing his best players too many minutes?
No, I think he held Towns to 42 minutes the other night against the Knicks. So there were 6 minutes with Towns in play. So it's a lot. Like he got commercial breaks off also. Maybe he's good.
Oh, you're right. I haven't looked at the box score for the Wolves closely. He played Wiggins 40, Levine 42.
Towns only played 30 the other night when they but the Knicks he wasn't playing that well against the Knicks, so that's probably why.
Yeah, I mean he still played Levine 40 and Wiggins 36. So yeah, he's doing the same thing.
I mean, do you think in the locker room like there's like a thing like above the message above the locker room door is like never trust the bench?
Well, I mean, in their defense, the bench had 5 points.
No, but like you have
Wednesday.
to you can't play without a bench. Like you have to just go like I'm going to develop my bench or else we're just not going to win games.
This was my argument when you were calling for Tibbs last year. I said he's just going to run everyone into the ground.
Well, now that I'm comfortable with Hornacek, I'm okay with your argument.
I don't know. I feel like this is it's too long of a conversation to like really get into, but I feel like the fact that they are so bad in the second half sort of validates him playing them that many minutes because like they really need to get in shape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you been happy with the Knicks bench helping the starters more than expected?
No, I'm upset about that. I want a really bad bench. No, I have to say these like what? So like Hernan Gomez, So, Chris, have you got a chance to watch a lot of Gomez and Kuz?
The games that I've watched, I haven't seen a lot of Kuzminskis, but Hernan Gomez, like I think he's really skilled. I think he is maybe. I think people maybe undersell him. I hear that he's really bad at defense, but I've never seen him be really bad. I've just seen him be like okay and not spectacular. But I don't have a lot to say about Kuzminskis though. I think Hernan Gomez is good.
Yeah,
I mean, center. Yeah.
Kuz hasn't even played tonight, really. I think they're both guys that could develop. I mean, Kuz is a little older; he's 27. But
Kuz has outscored Noah in 4 minutes.
Well, I mean, I'm just doing the podcast with you, and I have 2 less points than Noah. I feel like these guys are going to be pretty. Kuz, I feel like should get more minutes. They're both not where they need to be defensively. Hernan Gomez looks bad in the pick and roll, but it's hard to even tell because the Knicks look bad in the pick and roll. But Hernan Gomez, especially on offense, like you get in the ball near the basket, you feel like it's always going to go in. He's like got great hands and seems to like know how to he has got a bunch of post up moves. I generally like what I've seen from him. I feel like both those guys. Like I feel like the Knicks. I look at them right now. I know they were in win now mode. I look at them that if you can keep most of this team together and add a couple pieces, 2 or 3 years from now, we're really going to contend. Mm-hmm. I consider it more of a developing team.
Yeah, and I think that the part of the reason why the Knicks it isn't all Joakim, although you couldn't do this because of Joakim, but it's like they're really bad in pick and roll assignments and stuff, and they're really bad at help defense, but they've started switching on pretty much everything defensively, which I think is the move for this roster, assuming that you're not going to play Noah, Mm-hmm. Because I mean, you can switch like Courtney Lee, Derrick Rose, Carmelo, Chris Stapps can do that, and Kylo Quinn. Like you can do that,
Yeah. By the way, the Knicks are about to go 10-8. They're about to be 2 games over 500. We're not that bad of a team, and they got the schedule ahead. Like we got a bunch of teams that we could beat coming up. So I feel like this team is about to start impressing everyone in the NBA.
Yeah, and it was a really good finish too. Like they clearly wanted it, which is like trite, but not trite sometimes. I think
No, the last couple of years, all these games the Knicks are winning. All these close games, you feel like, oh, these are the games the Knicks lose. There was the what was the game? Maybe it was last week. I forget who it was, but they went down by like 10 points or 15 points in the third quarter. And you were like, game over, and Knicks came back and won the game because they're like, we're actually going to try to win these games now.
Yeah, I think it's good to have Carmelo plus 4 people who would dive to get a ball.
You're saying Carmelo won't dive for the ball? What? Are the Knicks fans going to kill you now?
Even though he's right. Should Jeff Hornacek make it a priority that Rose Anthony Porzingis average 20 points a game this season?
I'm going to say no, but
no.
I think he's saying that he get them all shots. And I do like the fact that like on a given night you could have like tonight, Porzingis is 6 for 18, Melo is 8 for 20. Not the most efficient nights. Rose is 9 for 14. You can have one guy be off and like other guys cover for them.
Right. Can we see Noah becoming a trade asset this upcoming year if he doesn't pan out? he said asset.
Oh my God.
How dangerous can I'm not even going to answer it. How dangerous can Rose become if he can develop a reliable jump shot?
Actually, I was reading a rumor, and I think this is true. So the Knicks would trade Noah, and they'd get back what is it? The water drinking system in
Flint, Michigan.
Flint, Michigan. Sorry. Which I think is a good deal. I'm gonna take that back.
How dangerous?
I think fixing the water system there is less than $72 million.
Yeah.
How dangerous can Rose become if he can develop a reliable jump shot?
I mean, he's not going to.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on.
How confident are you?
You know what I love? I love Rose was like some of the things he's been saying. He's saying like how I can't take those shots I used to take in Chicago. I have a lot of good teammates. I've got to get them involved. Which I also really like.
Yeah.
he's not looking to like. I feel like he's not looking to put up 40 points a night. He's like if he gets 20, that's what like really where like the top of where he was going for.
Yeah, I mean they seem like they're. I liked your point, what you were saying earlier, that Melo and Kristaps were inefficient, but I mean, if one of the big three is firing on all cylinders, you just sort of like pass the torch, and then your really good nights are when everyone's firing. So,
yeah,
I think that's about right. Like you just find out whatever your equilibrium is for each game.
By the way, I just saw Jennings had 17 points tonight. I didn't even. Wow.
He was just shooting pull-up threes in the first quarter. He did like 3 in a row.
Jennings has barely. He hasn't. I don't think he's cracked 10 before the rest of the season. He's always been Yeah, I'm liking this team. It's fun.
Yeah.
How confident are you that the Knicks will make the playoffs?
I would put actual money on it. I'll put. I would say I would put $50 on it.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident too.
Which is like for me, that's like I'm not a high roller, so.
I'd say 85% sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, these are the Knicks, so like 65% sure, but enough to bet on it.
Hypothetically,
yeah, I mean, more than 80%, but less than 90%. You know.
Yeah.
More than 84%, but less than 85.
Yeah.
Hypothetically speaking, if the Knicks make the playoffs and we face the Hawks, do we win the first round?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's a very good chance of that. Yeah.
I feel like
what would Dwight Howard do about Kristaps? Like, you just cry.
I mean, I feel like we have a very decent chance to get. The only team I feel like I can't see us beating is Cleveland. Everyone else I can see us having a very legitimate chance of beating in the first round.
Celtics.
I mean, the Celtics are a very good team, but like we'd match every game would be close. We'd have a shot at winning that.
And now, insurance-minded speeches from Geico.
It's a common expression, don't look a gift horse in the mouth. However, what if the horse's mouth is filled with useful insurance tools? This is the exact case with the Geico app. Yes, the app is free and therefore a gift horse. However, look inside the app and behold, emergency roadside assistance, digital ID cards, bill pay. Get the Geico app. Look it in the mouth. Get amazing services. Thank you.
And now, insurance-minded speeches from Geico.
It's a common expression, don't look a gift horse in the mouth. However, what if the horse's mouth is filled with useful insurance tools? This is the exact case with the Geico app. Yes, the app is free and therefore a gift horse. However, look inside the app and behold, emergency roadside assistance, digital ID cards, bill pay. Get the Geico app. Look it in the mouth. Get amazing services. Thank you.
I think
I'm on a Nick high. You can't knock me off my cloud right now.
Oh, okay. Well, so I just think that I think people are going to realize that the Celtics are a lot better than they've been so far. Nothing against the Knicks, you know. I think the Raptors are maybe a little bit overrated right now, but like, I mean, the Celtics have been like limping with all of this stuff, and I feel like they're going to put it together eventually, and it's going to be like, oh yeah, they're really good.
Yeah, they've been really underperforming so far.
Yeah, I think we did the preseason predictions. I think I had Celtics actually number 2 in the conference. I think they're really good. Yeah, I don't think the Knicks would beat the Celtics, but it'd be nice if they did. I just feel like I would feel good about this. I feel like any team we were playing, I feel good about the series except for Cleveland.
You know, one thing interesting though about the Celtics, like you could make the argument that the Knicks would almost always have the best player on the court would be in a Knicks uniform.
Yeah, and you could feel like even number 2 might be on the Knicks.
Yeah. If you're talking about Melo and Porzingis, like, I would say that. So,
and you're like, Noah, you're gonna play 5 minutes tonight. When Isaiah Thomas goes to the basket, make sure he also plays 5 minutes tonight.
Triple G writes, why do us Knicks fans have a love-hate relationship with Carmelo? I think it's just because he's so good some nights, and then other nights he just takes. It looks like he's not even trying sometimes on defense, where he gives up on plays.
Oh, he's not,
and
he's legitimately not trying on defense at the time.
Yeah.
I think it's the mellow ball. It's if you're a star, because someone was saying like how Kevin Durant shot like whatever, like he was off the other night, and people don't kill him the way they kill Melo. But it's that if you're 5 for 16 and you're shooting into the flow of the offense, you're just missing your shots. It's one thing.
Yeah.
If you're like, hey, let's stop the game so I can miss a bunch of shots, that gets people frustrated.
Right. Can Porzingis make the All-Star team this year? He's got a big international following. He might even get voted in.
Yeah, I mean, he's averaging like 20 and 8 and a couple blocks. Like, sure.
Yeah, he should be. Yeah, I mean, the Knicks should have 2 All-Stars.
Who are better center? Like, I would have Hassan Whiteside as a better center. That might be it. Drummond and then Kristaps probably.
Well, the Knicks also play him enough at power forward that I think he'd go in as a power forward.
Yeah.
But they do 3 forwards anyway now. They don't do the centers.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But either way, I feel like he should make it.
Yeah.
Do you really think Kurt Rambis is Phil Jackson's messenger boy?
There's something going on there.
I think
it's sexual.
And I want to know more. I want graphic details. The Knicks after hours on Skinamax.
Rambus. Ram.
If you
yeah.
Going with that theme, if you had to marry any Knicks player current roster, who would it be and why?
When we marry them, do we have to? I don't know.
DJ.
Do we have to do anything sexual, or we're just like hanging out with them a lot and just calling them our gay husband? I'm going to go with Porzingis because I like him the best.
He's 7 foot.
He has that innocence.
He is 7'3" though, so if he wants,
you like Catholic priest, man.
I mean, if he wants to consummate the relationship, he's 7'3".
If there's a guy in the Knicks, you're like, if I consummate with him, it would be okay.
Well, I don't know. I would go by percentages.
Sasha's not that tall, so I think I can take it from him.
I would probably pick the shortest guy in the team just in case.
I said BJ. I was talking about Brandon Jennings, right? I didn't just say BJ. Like
I thought you. I didn't catch on that you meant Jennings at all.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, that was what I wasn't just saying like BJ. Like,
I thought you're like, listen. I'll give him a BJ and I'll call it a marriage.
No. I was saying Brandon Jennings.
Yeah, I got that.
But there was the entendre there.
Do you want BJ or cock? Which one would you like?
Okay, so all right, that is KOQ, right? That's Kylo
Yes.
Quinn, right?
Yes.
All right, good.
And when he gets a block, it's a cock block.
Okay, actually, Hornacek, mostly because I want to be able to spend more time with his daughter.
Has Kylo Quinn made you change your negative feelings toward him with his recent performance?
Sounds like from the podcast it has.
Yes. Do you think Porzingis has a girlfriend since his second year and he's the most popular Knick?
He's got to be banging like some hot chicks.
Yeah, I don't know if he has a girlfriend, but he's definitely doing well for himself.
I mean go ahead.
No, go.
I mean, we were talking about like, do we just hang out with him and be friends? Like, I think that there was like an implicit like, okay, do I want to hang out with this guy so bad that I would let him have sex with me there? And like, you have to ask that question, right? Like, I mean, imagine being best friends with Kristaps. Maybe you, I don't know, man. Like, so I mean, if you were actually inclined, if you were Kristaps sexual, then like, yeah, you would go 100%. Like, I mean,
I don't know. But as far as being friends with them, let's go into the friend category. Do you think like you're like, oh, it's 2:30 a.m. I got a text from Rose. Do I really want to go over there? Who would you let's just do the who would you most like to get like get drinks with one night?
Kristaps, sure, right?
Either Kristaps or not Derrick Rose. Maybe Jennings.
Who do you think pulls the most tail?
Joakim, maybe.
Joakim's like is that girlfriend or his wife is like slamming?
I think Sasha does.
Sasha's a good-looking guy, but Porzingis, I don't think Porzingis does. I think maybe he does, but he has that look on his face where like the girls are like, I'm a fan. I'm gonna have sex with you. Oh, I get it. Okay.
You know, he lives with his mom because he said he doesn't want any bad influences like corrupting his career.
Oh, I love him, but like, why are you doing that to yourself?
I think that's the best thing.
No, it is the best thing.
That's sweet.
Oh, we went this whole episode without talking about how JR left the court in the middle of a play to high five Jason Terry.
You mean J.R. Smith, father and NBA champion J.R. Smith?
Oh God.
Yes, and also J.R. Smith, comedian. Like,
I mean, now that he's not on the Knicks, I just love those plays so much.
I mean, like, he's hilarious. I think he's like the NBA needs. He's irreverence. He is the Cleveland's like one of their starting five is Andy Kaufman.
Yeah.
I didn't know I was in the play. I didn't realize I was in the game. What the hell are you talking about?
You mean J.R. Smith allowed in the White House? J.R. Smith?
What do you think LeBron? Because LeBron obviously is kind of the coach of the team. What do you think his reaction? Like, does he talk to J.R. Smith? Is he like, oh, we want a title with him? I'm just going to accept this shit and move on.
I think he got talked to.
Chew him out. Does he chew him out?
I think he got.
I think he goes into his bedroom and he sits down on the side of the bed and he says, "JR, your mother and I are incredibly disappointed in you, and I hate to do this, but no Xbox for a week."
He's like, "Oh man."
LeBron's just chewing him out. He's like, "What the hell are you doing? What are you doing? Wait, are you high right now?" "Oh yeah, sorry, LeBron." "Ah, goddamn." "Sure, I'll go to the club with you, JR. Whatever."
The 4-year-old writes, incoming cock apology episode. Give him another couple games, then we might have to. Adam writes, right now, who would you prefer for the Knicks, Tyson Chandler or Noah? He wrote same contract, by the way.
Does Chandler have the same contract? Or is he just like saying that? What is Tyson Chandler's contract?
I thought Chandler did.
It's like, I think there's 2 more years at 12 or something.
Oh, really? I thought he had 20.
4-year, 52. That was last year.
Okay. Yeah.
So he's got. Yeah, you're right. He has 2 years after this, but I mean, I'm gonna take Chandler's contract.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I feel like the Knicks could have just kept Chandler the whole time. I mean, I still think the Knicks would work out a trade for Derrick Rose. I think they could have just kept Chandler and not gone with all the other guys.
Right. George just sent us a Tommy Beer tweet that said, best records in the Eastern Conference since November 12th. Number 1 is the Knicks at 7-3.
That's wrong. It's 8-3.
That's true. He also wrote, do analytics mean anything? Because it says Raptors 7-1 versus teams other than the Cavs.
Those are.
I do like those really specific stats where it's like you just make it say whatever you want it to say.
Yeah. The LeBron stats, like LeBron's the first player to be 25 and have 1,300 rebounds and 266 assists.
Yeah. LeBron's the first player to have 25 and 5 on a Wednesday of the 14th. And it's like, okay, let's calm down.
Yeah.
The 4-year-old writes, assuming we make the playoffs, who realistically can you see us facing and beating?
I think we have a decent chance against. I mean, I think the Celtics and the Raptors and the other teams would be the hardest. But I think everyone else, I feel like should be able to beat in the first round.
Yeah, Cavs, Celtics,
the East
Raptors.
isn't that hot, you know?
Yeah.
It's time for LeBron's annual cakewalk to the finals.
Yeah.
George writes, do you hope Noah snaps his legs so he can never step on the court?
What happens if he's injured, the Knicks can't use the money anyway. He has to actually announce his retirement.
Right. If not, then we just have Allen Houston situation where he just collects checks.
That is the conversation I want to have 19 games into a
4-year contract.
$72 million. Yeah.
That is it for Twitter.
We have a couple on Facebook. I'll go lightning on the Facebook ones. Shane writes, would you rather have Tyson Chandler or Noah at this point in their careers? Josh writes, why do you think there was so much hype around Melo getting the game-winning shot against the Timberwolves? If he didn't shoot 5 for 16, we wouldn't have even been in that position. I'm so over ISO Melo. Standard, stupid, long two-pointer. I'd rather give it to Porzingis and the ball and have him miss and go to overtime than see Melo choose that kind of stupid shot. Not a fan of Melo there. There was apparently since Melo's been in the league, he's hit the most
I saw that.
go-ahead shots with 5 seconds to go in a game of anyone in the NBA. He also shot probably well more than anyone else also.
Yeah, but I I actually messaged ESPN on Twitter, and they responded that he actually has shot above average on field goal percentage in those attempts.
Yeah.
Which
Maybe
I was
it's just,
actually surprised to hear.
a lot of the shots just look so frustrating. And you always think the Knicks, like, why don't you just run a play and try that instead? But
yeah,
I'm glad I mean, obviously he hit that shot to win the game, and like, yeah. And he actually, like tonight also, I feel like he was more in the flow of the offense, so maybe he's getting it. Frank writes, do you think the Knicks should trade Melo? Chris?
No, yes, no, no, I don't think so.
Final answer?
I mean, it's getting to the point, what's the return going to even be, in the sense of, like, you're not going to get, like, you have to think, like, we're going to go full rebuilding and get a bunch of draft picks, and unless you're getting you can't trade him to, because there's no trade clause, you can't trade him to a bad team, unless the Celtics will give you a bunch of draft picks for him.
I'd say only.
I mean, I think it's worthwhile to see what you can do with this iteration. You know, I think that like having your three best players being Melo is like always underrated. Like he's, you know, a top 5 scorer in the league like every year, and Kristaps might be insanely good, and Derrick Rose might get close to back where he was. Like I think that could be really good. I think that that's worth a crack at it. You know what I mean? Like if everything falls into place, that could be really, really good, right?
Yeah, no, I mean,
I don't think it's time to blow it up.
We have a draft pick this year. We should be able to add some more talent in the offseason. Let's just keep. We might as well. We've gone this far with it. If you're going to trade Melo, we probably should have done it already. So just keep going.
I say only trade him if you're going scorched earth policy and you're getting rid of like everybody.
Yeah, and I'm saying that it's not time for that. I don't think.
I don't either.
And if you trade Melo, maybe you could throw in Noah to the deal. Frank writes, so obviously the Timberwolves defense has been atrocious, even with Tibbs as coach. With that said, what do you guys consider to be the more important for the team being successful? Defensively, coaching, or the players' defensive instincts? Oh, what's more successful for defensively? Having a coach who's a good defensive coach, or having players who have just good defensive instincts?
I think a good defensive coach.
I think instincts.
I'm going to go with Jay. I'm going to go with Jay on this, but I think both are pretty important.
Because Minnesota stinks, and Tibbs is a really good defensive coach because his players don't have instincts.
Well, I mean, I think people are missing the boat on Minnesota. Like they're in net rating like the second best team in the league until halftime, right? So they are a really good defensive team until halftime. So they run a really good defense until halftime. So
yeah, exactly.
I mean,
so next year they might get in like the first 5 minutes of the third quarter. Eventually they'll finish a game. I mean, part of it also is it takes defense. I think takes longer than offense, and to really build that up. So it may be this whole season they're kind of working on that, and next year they're like you see a real difference of Tibbs.
Yeah, I think that the Minnesota thing, it's if we're doing rapid fire, we can't talk about Minnesota. It's so complicated.
I'm going to go. Okay. Miguel's writes, how much has the election of Donald Trump influenced in making being a Knicks fan great again? I've heard Derrick Rose personally has thanked Donald Trump for his game getting better. Adam writes, Cock was impressive today against the Wolves. Apologize, Jay. Mark should apologize too, actually. Also, there was a Sasha sighting recently. How did you deal with it?
Well, like we said, players gonna have to play good for a couple weeks, or else we run into a Lance Thomas situation.
I these people should tap the brakes. I like him, but like he's not gonna get 20 and 16 every game.
He had one good game over. If you just like you do that over 82 games with advanced analytics, you'll have 20-10 every game. Frank writes, so Eric referred to Cock as a beast in his game recap for the T-Wolves at Knicks game. Who is the stronger beast, Cock or Carroll? Who would win in a beast fight? Also, keep up the good work, Eric. There was one of our loyal fans, the big Raptor fan, and he had referred at one point to DeMar Carroll being a beast, and he did that, and then Carroll's numbers for the next couple games were like 2 points, like a rebound, and we started making fun of the Carroll as the beast. And that's what he's referring to in the question.
And then we never stopped, and it's been years now.
I'm gonna say Cock beats Carroll in beastliness because he's got a beard.
Yeah, it's a rock paper scissors thing.
Yeah.
Carroll's
Frank
been
writes,
trash since then.
Frank writes, have you guys been paying attention to Ron Baker celebrating the other guy's big plays? His celebrations are pretty amusing.
I haven't, but now I got to keep an eye on that.
Andrew posted just a great picture of Cock. Dow writes, "Hey boys, just love the show. It's becoming so addictive and I don't know why, but I try not to think about it too much and I just go with it and immerse myself on Monday mornings. Anyway, not being American, I'm wondering if you can explain to me why the New York Knicks don't seem to be able to spend as much as other teams do, or is it just perception? And also, why does the town team franchise have so much trouble attracting free agents? Why can OKC or San Antonio develop such great teams, but New York Knicks struggle? I would want to be in the Big Apple all day, every day, but do Americans view it differently? It is really hard to understand from an outsider point of view."
Well, that was a lot.
Yeah, I think it comes down to it used to be you used to may think about like I want to play in New York because I want to like live in New York. But you could you're rich. Anywhere in the NBA, you're going to be rich. You're going to have a good life, and you can kind of come to New York and party wherever you want. And I think guys are more attracted just to like good teams. And so if you haven't been a good team, it's hard to get free agents. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Or you have to overpay for guys, and it's once the Knicks get it right and start building it. Like now, if they didn't have say $72 million around their neck, if they didn't have that noose around their neck, they'd probably be able to attract a big free agent next year.
They're still going to have they still should have max money contract, but yeah, I think they'll look at that Joakim Noah thing and be like, I feel like I should get 2 max contracts to come in.
Yes. Frank writes, what do you think practice is like when Rambis is coaching defense? Cause whatever he's coaching, it isn't working. I think the Knicks defense has been better. I don't know. Since they actually made him like defensive coach, I feel like the defense hasn't been so bad.
I don't know. I feel like they've blown like 4 20-point leads in the last 4 games.
I mean, they've been winning, and the defense hasn't been atrocious. They've been in all their games. I know what you're saying.
The last question asked why it seems like the Knicks can't spend as much money. It seems to be because the other teams take advantage of the bird rules, whereas the Knicks are always strapped for. They always max themselves out before they can even get that going.
Well, the thing with the bird rules, you have to have a guy on the team for like 3 years to like be able to use the bird rules. And for the most part, Knicks have been turning the roster over so much that like you can't take advantage of it. We're in Golden State, they drafted all their players, and then you can take advantage of the bird rights. And
right. The Knicks have like 15 new players every season. So
yeah, Chris, what do you think about this? What do you think about the cap where like one team, the Knicks would be maxed out at like $70 million? I guess the new one's higher, but like last year the Knicks were maxed out like $70 million, and Golden State could spend 110. Do you think that's like a fair system? Or like a good, not even fair. Is that a good system?
I think the cap is probably good. I think maybe for a team like Sacramento, you should get a handicap where they can spend like $200 million. And depending on like when during the whole, what's your dickhead owner's name? What's his name?
James Dolan.
Yeah, Dolan. Like I think at different times during the Dolan administration, maybe you guys should have been given a little bit more money to spend just because of it's like the Dolan handicap,
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Dolan would spend. Maybe instead of like giving just draft picks to like teams, they should like give them extra money to spend. Like Philly gets like a bunch of number 1 draft picks and can spend $400 million this year. That would make teams better, faster. Gillum writes, why did you want to trade O'Quinn? Because he's a good bench player and in a very cheap contract. We've been pretty negative on Kyle O'Quinn, and people are rightfully so throwing it back in our face.
Yeah, you have been pretty negative about Kyle O'Quinn, though.
He drives me crazy on the court, but like he looked, I admit when he looks good, he's looked very good lately, and obviously the other night he looked amazing.
I think it was just last episode where you said I don't want him on the team.
Hi, this is more.Learn Morrison, here to tell you Geico has more than just great savings. Much more. Geico's been around for more than 75 years, back when they were using Morse code. Sorry, that's just my sense of humor. What's more, with Geico you get 24/7 access to licensed agents on the app, online, or over the phone, so you can talk to them at night or in the morning. So forevermore, just know that no other auto insurer has more than Geico. More power to you. Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.
Yo, everybody get up! Everybody get up! Everybody needs to understand that I'm more than simply a hype man for this rap group, just like Geico is more than just a company that can save you money. Geico also has fast and friendly claim service, so they can help you when you need it most. And while I do love being a hype man, I also love reading for children's audiobooks. Like Little Bo Peep, she lost a sheep, and she don't know where to find them. Yo!
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.
You know, he's a little bit like Kenneth Faried on the Nuggets. You know, he's like an energy guy, and that's great for certain things. But, I mean, it's not the best thing in the world, you know? Like, every once in a while, Kenneth Faried is going to go off, but he's not exactly the most skilled player in the world, you know?
Yeah.
Are we? Is the NBA like NBA like just the not like is everyone like the wisdom of the NBA agreed now that Kenneth Faried's not that good?
I hope so.
Is he even
I
playing
can't
this
stand
season?
Kenneth.
I haven't heard a thing about him all year.
I always thought he
he's
was
starting.
overrated.
The
I remember
Nuggets are just not doing it right now.
I remember the
They're
Knicks.
starting Nurkic and putting Jokic off the bench. Yeah, the Jokic that everyone was creaming over last year.
There was a rumor the Knicks were going to go after Faried at one point. And I was like, please just don't do this. This was a while ago, but Gillum writes, without knowing what position will the Knicks draft and what kind of talent will be available, rank the positions the Knicks should focus on drafting. Oh, let's give the number instead of ranking positions. Give the what position should the Knicks focus on in drafting? I would say point guard.
Yeah, the point guards in next year's draft are great.
Also, you have to figure you're not keeping both Rose and Jennings, so you need to develop someone else.
Yeah, and it's the natural pair for Porzingis. I think it's going to be. I've thought about you guys trying to buy low on Marcus Smart on the Celtics. If you can draft someone like that, like someone like Markelle Fultz or something who can just go downhill really fast, like a younger Derrick Rose, basically.
Yeah, no, I'm a huge fan of that. And it would actually be great to have a guy like where like we have a veteran point guard who can be kind of mentor the guy also.
Yeah.
Jay, do you disagree or? Jay?
Well, I think that I don't think it was convincing.
Gillum writes, Towns gets star treatment already, gets all calls despite playing with tremendously physically, elbows all around. He was kind of like he wrote down the question: why does Towns get all-star calls already?
I think because he finishes through contact, and that's sort of what I was saying with Kristaps. Like if Kristaps takes it straight at someone, like he'll stop moving, you know. But like Karl-Anthony Towns will like keep moving, you know what I mean? Like
yeah, it's a fair point.
Yeah, and I think that like once you're at that point, like the contact is so exaggerated that it's like, I mean, Karl-Anthony Towns is a man, you know, he's a man boy instead of a boy man.
He looks like he's gonna be. I mean, I feel like this is the second, like Porzingis, Towns, like these guys. Do you think Anthony Davis? I mean, he's obviously having a very good year. Do you think Anthony? I was just on a different note. Is Anthony Davis ever gonna like go to the playoffs? Are they ever gonna like put a good?
He's the Kevin Garnett, man.
Yeah.
I mean, how could you be so good and have this around you for? Gillum also writes, what do you think Phil would do differently from what Hornacek has done if he was coach?
Well,
if Phil was coaching the team, how would it be different? I think it would be less pick and roll. It would be more triangle probably, but I also think if Phil was doing the triangle, it would be a little different than having someone else do it. So
I think the uniforms would be replaced with triangles.
Every player would have to wear like a sumo suit, but the sumo suit would be in a triangle form.
Yeah. It'd be the Madison Triangle Garden.
For some reason, he would retire halfway through and write a book about how he hates Kobe still.
Oh man.
Daryl writes, I actually love Melo, but couldn't pass this up. There's a picture of there's some kind of picture where basically like final second of the game, Porzingis like I'm open, and Melo's just not passing to him. And then we got a message on Facebook that I'm not going to read the whole thing; it was long. But basically, Brendan wrote to us and just said something basically about how we're spending $72 million on Noah, and Plumlee for $500,000 a year looks just as adequate.
Yep.
I think that's all our questions, right, Jay?
Yeah. So I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about the Almighty Ballers Network.
You know, I just don't want to do that to the listener right now. You know, we can plug it some other time. There's a lot to talk about with the Knicks. You know, like.
All right. Well, we talked about it in the
time.
beginning of the show before you came on.
We talked a little bit more, so.
Well, yeah, but you know, I'm Chris Axmann from the Almighty Baller Podcast Network, and we're excited to have these guys representing the Knicks better than any other two human beings could in podcast form. Over at almightyballer.com and over at blogtalkradio.com/ABPN. So,
thank you, Chris, and we know now that you're an absolute liar. But thank you for all the nice words you said about us. But no, we're excited to join the network. And it sounds like what you're building up is pretty exciting. So we're excited to be aboard, and you'll be able to like any team you want. You'll be able to hear really, really good coverage of the team.
Yeah, and entertaining, you know, like fun.
You'll see your real fans talking about their teams, not just some guy just reading off stats to you or in a dry voice.
Yeah, right. That.
All right. Before next episode, at Miami versus Cleveland at Sacramento. What's the Knicks record?
2-1.
Oh wait, okay. So what were the games again?
At Miami versus Cleveland and at Sacramento.
Yeah, 2-1.
Yeah, 2-1.
I assume we're all choosing the Cleveland game, the one they lose. By the way, Miami, they're horrible.
I mean, they've dealt with a lot of injuries. It's like, I think that when they're all on the court, Goran plus Hassan is okay, you know?
Yeah.
But like, no one else is good. So if they're not there, then it's bad.
By the way, maybe you know this. I'm not even sure, and I can probably look up on Google. But has Bosch given up on coming back?
No, he hasn't. But the Miami Heat have given up on him.
Yeah, he's pissed that he's not allowed back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, oh God. It's a pretty bad situation.
Yeah.
I don't blame them, and yeah. Yeah.
I don't blame either party. Like, you know, like Chris, it's got to be hard to be told when you're 30, like, you're not going to play basketball anymore. Like, I'm sorry, like, about your aspirations, but like, that's all done now.
Especially since he was putting up all-star numbers, like, you know, right up until that point.
Yeah. No, I mean, and still, like, it looks like he'll probably make even with his career thus far, he's been so good, so consistently that he'll probably be in the Hall of Fame. But like, I mean, for all of these guys who are so competitive, like, that's a pretty terrible thing to be told. Like, okay, you're just not playing basketball anymore.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, but then at the same time, like, you can't be a team and let a player die on the court. Like, that's not something that's okay.
You don't think that's okay? You don't think like that you can just be like, oh,
if it's Joakim Noah, then that's one thing. If Joakim Noah collapsed and like just spontaneously exploded, I think that might be okay.
Do you think you know they had the sponsorships? I'm gonna go dark in this one. You know the sponsorships were like Kentucky Fried Chicken. If like the team like hits all their free throws, everyone gets Kentucky Fried Chicken for the game. Yeah. Like Joe Bob's funeral home is like, hey, we're not that we're rooting for it, but everyone gets a free funeral if it happens tonight.
On that note, we will be back next week. You could follow Chris on Twitter, Almighty Ballin, at Almighty Ballin. And almightyballer.com is the website where you can find a bunch of other great podcasts about different teams.
Yeah, I just rebooted all of it. It's pretty snazzy. I think it looks pretty good.
Yeah, it looks good. You made a nice little logo for us too. It's looking good.
You seem better. You seem better at this than we are.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you guys see you're on the front page, or you're like at the top grid thing? Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. No worries.
No, you seem like you seem like you have your act together much more than we do. we both are very impressed so far.
Well, yeah, no, and I'm happy to do it. You guys are way funnier than I am, so like, you know, while I do all this background stuff, I'm the one on the network. If you want to go listen to like nerdy people just talking about stats and knowing too much about basketball, like that's my show, Almighty Ballin. But like, I don't want to like force everyone to listen to my show, you know, like.
It's at least it's in an interesting way that you're not like the monotone, just read off a sheet of paper type of people. Yeah. No, I'm not the worst thing in the world, but you know, I should. I'm like the, you know, there's a reason behind it. I'm sort of like tanking, you know.
I always want the people like when you do the show, you get to have a talk. You want to hear some fandom in them, like they're actually an NBA fan, get some passion. And I always feel like I feel like sometimes you listen to their things where they really don't seem like you're like just get a little more excited about your team or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like some podcasts and some like there's a certain like an analytical approach to watching basketball where I feel like you could be just as informed without ever watching the game. It's like what we were saying with Derrick Rose. Like, if you didn't watch Derrick Rose and like sort of think to yourself, okay, this is a human who like gets hurt all the time and he's going up against a 7-footer who's really scary. If you didn't like actually watch the game and like feel things, if it was just all like spreadsheets and stuff, you wouldn't get that, you know?
Yeah. You wouldn't get like the quality of like how he's been finishing at the rim. You're like, oh, he got 2 points in that play. You're like, did you see what he did there? He looks like he's kind of getting back to where he was.
Well, if you did the other way, you would be Skip Bayless.
Wait, why do we say Skip Bayless now?
Because he doesn't watch the games and he just makes stuff up and he doesn't know what he's talking about.
He is a real dip.
In fairness, Skip Bayless actually ran over Jay's dog. So. It's a random note of the story. So Jay really just hates Skip Bayless.
Yeah. Anyway,
fun
thanks for joining us, and we're looking forward to being part of the network.
Yeah.
I know that from the Flagrant Take, Jim is a big Knicks fan, and he's looking forward to chatting with you guys.
Yeah,
but, I got to eat sushi over here. So.
Yeah. Okay. So, Jim will be on next week. So thanks for listening. You want to plug anything before we go?
No, I'm good.
All right.
I think we plugged the network, so that was kind of...
Well, we did. The guys got like...
You know, it's late. This was a really long podcast. Like, I'm proud of us for pulling through. And
Sorry,
doing this.
it was
like,
so
it's
long.
It's not easy to talk for 2 hours about basketball.
Jay, he's telling you, play the damn music, Jay.
All right. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, love. Goodbye, everybody. This is the end. Say goodbye. I'm gonna leave you. It's the end. Goodbye. Just leave me alone. Feels so good to say goodbye. I'm sick and tired and I'm saying goodbye. Goodbye, girl. Goodbye, everybody.
Hi, this is Moreland Morrison, here to tell you Geico has more than just great savings. Much more. Geico's been around for more than 75 years, back when they were using Morse code. Sorry, that's just my sense of humor. What's more, with Geico you get 24/7 access to licensed agents on the app, online, or over the phone, so you can talk to them at night or in the morning. So forevermore, just know that no other auto insurer has more than Geico. More power to you. Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.